If humans live a set path, then how do we find the human experience, something classified as unique to each person? How do we distinguish real happiness from consumption-based happiness in a world so separated by abstractions like money and street names? If the human experience is shared between humanity, there must be a reason why we bring out the differences in a single, united race. If our life is our own, then how do we manage to find an experience to match up to the 7 billion other people on this earth?
Putting into consideration the obligations of our standard life path, humans are quite limited in the direction of their life. Our first trap is the influence of our parents. For the first 5 years of a human's life, they are too young to make many choices for themselves in terms of enjoyment or fulfillment. In a large sense, a child is just an extension of the parent. The minute children blossom any sort of independence from parents, they are sent to school where they are told what to do. School sets the basics for how to be a regulated and submissive citizen of society. Rowdy kids are scolded for their outbursts, because in school, the enjoyment of an individual is sacrificed for the productivity of the group. Middle school, as the name states, simply prepares for high school, and high school for college. This goal is common in each stage of life, a preparation for the next. The goal of school is not to help students achieve happiness in life. In fact, many students are forced to give up their happiness. In a study of over 22,000 students, 75% reported negative emotions about school, including boredom and stress. After 18 years of dependence on parents and required schooling, humans have not truly had any power to determine the direction of their lives. And the end product of that all, the next step, working, is not much different. A job's purpose is to earn money to support a family, and a family is created to fulfill a biological need to reproduce in order to keep our species alive. From these examples, one can see that from the moment we are born, we are swept into a current that pushes us through life's predetermined path with a very few moments to catch our breath. Our large-scale path is hardly under our control, and looking at only the major steps of birth, following a standard life path, then death, can be quite depressing. But all the small decisions we make within these confinements is what makes up the quality and happiness of our lives. Nazim Hikmet was kept in prison for 13 years, and after being set free, wrote a poem, Things I Didn't Know I Loved, where he wrote of all the ordinary, ever-present things in life that many people take for granted. I didn't know I loved clouds, whether they looked like giants or shaggy white beasts. The most languid, the most petite gorgeous, strikes me. I like it. It is important we take advantage of every small aspect of our existence, that we let our minds question, wander, and imagine, never letting it succumb to the draining routine of our bodies. Every moment between our predestined milestones are precious, so take advantage. Weigh the true value of each decision you are able to make for yourselves to the quality of your happiness.
Although it seems that our lives are planned out on a strict schedule without much room for enjoyment, we can still seek happiness and differentiate ourselves from the rest of the world. We often try to find happiness through consumption, but this isn't real happiness. It's only barely scratching the surface of true joy and pleasure. The famous Greek philosopher Aristotle once wrote, "Happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence." True happiness is created from experiences, like getting married and having a family, not from buying useless materialistic stuff. We are living in a world of fake happiness, and we keep digging ourselves deeper and deeper into this never-ending pit of consumption. Back when everything was simpler and technology hadn't advanced to the level it is at today, people weren't as caught up in social media and they actually noticed the things occurring around them. A poll on care2.com with about 8,000 voters demonstrates this because 64% voted that technology has decreased their overall happiness, whereas only 36% voted that our overall happiness has increased. Some may argue that technology has increased our happiness because we can communicate with friends and family who live far away. We've convinced ourselves that social media has brought us closer together, but in reality, we are as far apart as we've ever been. Buying the latest iPhone creates a false happiness that is only temporary. You'll be happy directly after you bought it, but eventually it'll bring more sadness than happiness. It makes you feel worse because social media is basically everybody bragging about what they have and you don't. Our entire modern society revolves around technology and consumption. We waste so much because we go out and buy something and end up getting rid of it shortly after or never even using it. Everybody must have the newest and greatest product, but these must-haves are extremely unnecessary. We waste too many things we don't have, and it shows how obliviously selfish Americans are. There are people in other countries who are struggling to get a meal every day while we are stuffing ourselves with food. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states that 1/3 of American adults are obese, while 50% of the world lives on less than $2.50 a day. In America, $2.50 seems close to nothing. You can buy a candy bar and a soda with it. Fortunately, these snacks don't even provide nutritional value anyways, and it takes up resources that could be used elsewhere. For instance, in other countries, that's enough to feed a family. Our obsession with consumption has led us to make other people miserable for our own pleasure. But it's not even real pleasure. It's fake. Real happiness doesn't come from buying useless things on the internet. It comes from experiences with the people you love. Happiness isn't only achieved from being with people. It also comes from literature, religious beliefs, and nature. All of these things involve little to no consumption, yet they bring the most joy to people.
Human nature is to coexist with elements around us, the things we can't explain. So we develop ways to tolerate the lack of an explanation. We use terms like dog person and cat person to describe the feeling of connectivity between animals and people. We label someone who is fond of nature and the outdoors as a hippie with a green thumb. Middle schoolers paste on as many labels for themselves and each other as they can. For example, Potterhead, theater geek, nerd, loser, popular. Even human-induced conflict is caused because we want unity. From the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria to Genghis Khan, the Korean War to the Communist Revolution, we shoot popes, burn mosques, assassinate kings, queens, chieftains, prime ministers, and presidents, when in all respect, we are nothing but masses and masses of birds waiting to be killed on the same chopping block. We too notice the passing of time. We are aware of our short existence, and for some of us it is troubling to think of, so we push it further and further away from us in order to try and live a worry-free life. We say, carpe diem, and live in the moment because we know subconsciously that we won't be remembered in the grand scheming swirl of humanity. Because in a strange, stubborn way, we acknowledge that we are mere nothings among the gods and cosmos, and we decide brashly that nothing we do will matter anyway. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, Robert Herrick implored his readers, instructing them to explore and experience while they were still young, while the day was still fresh in the sky, while time still lingers. Dylan Thomas warns us of our recklessness, of wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Alas, we do not realize that our planet is no longer the virginal, celestial body it once was. No longer can we call it an overflowing cornucopia of goods and opportunity. We have failed to recognize Thomas's forewarning. We do not heed the passage of time. We can't see that our planet has changed from the way it was in the time of our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. As much as we believe we are the cutting-edge generation, woke and angry, with plenty of opinions, we are no different than our ancestors. And so we crash and burn through unexplored forests and empty canvases. We fill the streets with scraped knees and smoking tires. We break our bones on problems we'll solve the next morning, to the point where we've suffocated the skies of tomorrow with the fireworks of today. Who's drunk too much in an attempt to relax their nerves? Who's gone through 5 Polaroids only to realize they're badly taken replicas of the wonder you tried to capture? That's us. We have. The tears are streaming from our eyes as we hold the desiccated remains of our history in an attempt to salvage what we've lost, as if labeling and conquering could save an ocean deeper than any of us know, as if a single phrase could spin over and over again through the mouths and minds of millions and not have some kind of lasting effect. Humans hold on. Humans forgive. Humans remember. But over time we have forgotten it in an attempt to start over. We cannot rewind ourselves for the sake of each other. We must go forward with our mistakes, our beaten shoes and dirty fingernails, and rise above the bruised clouds that drift in nameless alleyways and over empty mailboxes.
Human nature is something we all tend to share, such as ways of thinking, feeling, and acting. It's something we all know as, say, the want to travel the world, the love and gratefulness of animals, caring and helping each other, the drive to stay alive, etc. But would you say that's what it is nowadays? With us having obese humans on one side of the world and starving ones on the other, deforestation, and not caring about how much we damage our home planet and ourselves? Does barely anyone have human nature anymore? Does the drive to stay alive exist within our murder of our only home? Deforestation is a major issue of the world today. 1.6 billion people, or 23% of all people on Earth, depend on forests, while we cut down 150 acres of it per minute. Animal species are losing their homes to it, resulting in their death and also extinction. Deforestation for our planet is a big risk. Is this what today's human nature is? I've learned these facts all over the place, and I've heard and talked to people who want to help save the Earth. But the majority of them only really carpool or recycle. While these are good things, I've discovered we all have to do a lot of things together in order for it to make a change on this dying planet. In America, more than 1/3 of adults and children are obese. In Asia, 2/3, a population of 4.42 billion, are hungry. If we all work together and donated $1 a week or day to hunger operations, couldn't this major issue be hugely improved or even solved someday? I thought human nature was partly about helping others in need, not selfishly keeping and using that dollar to buy more stuff that we don't need. Fair Trade is a company that gives a fair pay to farmers for, one thing, coffee in Ethiopia. I've asked someone at Whole Foods, and they said they don't buy Fair Trade mostly because it's more expensive, and secondly because why buy it when you can go buy a cheaper cup of coffee right next door? Some people might not be able to afford it, but this guy definitely looked like he could, and it just made me upset that he and a lot of other people would rather support a low-paying company for coffee over Fair Trade. Is this what human nature has come to nowadays? Okay, it's obvious that it's not true that none of us care about these issues. There are tons of people that really are helping them. But it's also not true that all of us care or are actually helping. We still find happiness in buying the newest clothes or the newest iPhone when you just bought the newest one a few months ago and want to be cool. We still find happiness in our daily, high-consuming, low-caring lives, but as said before, it's mostly fake happiness. We find fake and temporary happiness in our consumption when we could find real, lifetime-lasting happiness in helping people eat and get the nutrition they need in developing countries. Wouldn't that be true happiness for all to see a headline in the newspaper saying, "World hunger solved," or "Deforestation takes a huge step back"? Is this what human nature is?
Humans have been forced down a strict life path ever since they were born. Although, while being inside these limits, we can still find pleasure and happiness. Unfortunately, sometimes we try to find joy with fake happiness instead of discovering the true enjoyment that human life can offer. Will you ever dig deeper to discover these great pleasures, or will you only fill your life with fake happiness that this society makes you believe is real?